Hey there, guys. Kevin Downey from Kevin M. Downey. Thanks so much for taking the time today. Really appreciate it. In this video, I'm going to walk through how we build dynamite sales and business development teams for our clients, B2B companies. Specifically, in this case, I want to talk about direct mail. It is one of the core categories that we work with a lot, partly because there's a lot of demand for remote inside sales and business development reps in that category, but also because direct mail, like some others, has a very unique way. We have a very unique way of recommending to you, if you're a direct mail owner or let's say a CRO, CSO, or VP of sales, of how to build sales and business development teams and direct your cold outreach and the pitch itself for direct mail. It's something that I created years ago and trained reps on, and it's one of my favorite categories to train reps on. I think it's absolutely phenomenal, and we're going to walk through those details here in a bit. So I always want to try to keep videos as short as I can. But I'm not very good at it. I'm verbose, right? I like to give a lot of detail in things. So we're going to walk through, how do we build high-performing sales and business development teams for B2B companies? But again, specifically in the case of direct mail, I'm going to talk about some specific things here for that space. But otherwise, our programs, our pricing, everything like that's the same. It's just when we build a pitch for direct mail, and again, there's a few other categories where this applies, and we train reps and we build prospect lists, we're doing it in a very unique way to make the reps more effective, for the owners to get better ROI out of their teams. Okay. So first, let's talk about a note on sales team structure. So this is a big topic, and I'll keep it short. But one of the things we're seeing on sales team structure in the United States today is that we have to get ROI out of our salespeople and our sales teams, just like any employee in a privately held company. And salespeople, just like all other employees, are getting a lot more expensive, right? They're commanding much higher salaries and guarantees and more income because cost of living keeps going up. So one of the things we're seeing as a trend, and I'm a big fan of this, to be honest with you, is reducing the total number of actual salespeople and increasing the amount of dedicated business development, cold outreach reps and team, right? And high volume email marketing to drive leads and appointments for sales so that they are not prospecting. Okay. And not because we don't want the sales reps to do their own prospecting. In theory, we do. But the problem is they've gotten so expensive, it makes no sense to have them do it anymore, right? I would rather have fewer salespeople, pay them the money they need, the ones that are really good, and drive them all leads and appointments. Whether we're just finding out decision maker, we're finding out a decision maker with a pain point, we're actually scheduling appointments. I don't care on that end. What I don't want sales reps to be doing, because they're just too expensive for ROI purposes, I don't want them going out there having to fish for who the decision maker is and whether or not they have a pain point. All right? It doesn't make sense. It's mathematically just doesn't make any sense anymore. Again, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, totally understand why and I did it, right? I was a farmer sales rep, in theory, in the golf industry, right? Sales reps went out, they did their own prospecting. Why? Because A, we were doing a lot of boots on the ground. B, we could get a hold of a decision maker very consistently. So we were in sales mode a lot, right? Contrary to today, when we're doing cold outreach, especially by phone and using email and other things, our level of efficiency for the hours worked in finding decision maker with a pain point has just dropped, right? And it's dropped a lot. And there's all kinds of things with technology and remote workers and COVID and all this stuff that's kind of compounded to create that issue. But the fact of the matter is we cannot waste money in small business and in mid-market companies. Even enterprise companies are different because they're a long-term play with reps and in a sense that they can wait 18 months to get ROI out of a rep, or 12 months or whatever it is. Small business can't do that, and certainly a lot of mid-market companies can't do that. And personally, if I own part of a business, I don't want that. I don't want it to take that long, right? I want to be getting ROI out of a rep immediately, okay? So sales team structure and thought process, in the case of direct mail, if you're a printer, right, direct mail shop, whatever it is, right, think about your salespeople, or you, if you're small and you're still doing your own sales, your salespeople really should be like owner in this point, where they're on scheduled appointments, or they're talking to customers, they're cross-selling, they're upselling, they're reselling, they're managing that book of business. If they're dealing with new customers, they're dealing with leads or appointments. They are not fishing for decision maker with a pain point. Now, in the case of direct mail, there's a lot of times they're reaching out where they're really hitting just owners. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about prospect list. But the reality is, we gotta keep them as effective, get them turning numbers as fast as we can. And the way we do that is get dedicated business development reps and cold email outreach, high volume cold email, which I talk about in other videos, to do the heavy lifting to drive them leads and appointments, so that they are only talking to prospects. They are only talking to prospects and customers, if they're a new rep, just prospects, right? Eventually, though, I want them dealing with prospects and customers, or eventually just customers. Right? That's the ideal circumstance. They have a book of business. It does great. And they keep cross-selling, upselling, reselling to their customer base. So think about that when we think about all of these things. Okay. About our agency, I want to walk through our talent and how we source talent for clients. We get, how we, getting video introduction versus getting assessment results. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And then our programs and pricing. I want to walk through those specifically. So when we've been around for 10 years, I'm going to flip around to some different screens. So we've been around for over 10 years, recruiting and training sales and business development reps for customers of all business types. We do a lot of work in B2B companies, and we especially do a lot of work with companies that, like direct mail as an example, but companies that have, farmer sales reps at managing a book of business, cross-selling, upselling, all that kind of stuff. A lot of stuff in advertising, a lot of stuff in, again, direct mail is a really good fit. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite category that we do work with, because the pitch is just dynamite for cold outreach. It does very, very well. But we've been around, again, over a decade, and we build high-performing sales teams and email marketing systems. I'm not really going to get into email much on this video, but that's what we do when we've been around a long time. How do we do it? Let me give you some examples. So we go out and we build marketing funnels for our clients to go out and source talent, right? And then we take that talent, we not only review resume, so you get a dedicated recruiter in my agency, and we're looking at resume, of course, as part of it, but we're also gathering video introduction or assessment. Typically, we get video introduction, but we do have some clients where we specifically gather assessment. We can't get both from candidates. Unfortunately, that doesn't work very well. But we recruit talent for clients. We do, to go back, we do local in-house recruiting. Like if they need to be in office, we can recruit reps that are outside sales in a specific territory. We also do recruiting of reps that are going to work remotely, right? And we're recruiting remote candidates all day, every day in the United States, but we also recruit remote candidates that want to in Latin America, 48 countries, every day, all day. So between the United States and Latin America, we call this our RTG candidate pool, and it costs you a lot less for us to place a rep with you from that pool because we already have them, right? But that RTG candidate pool is, we get about 100 to 200 candidates a day between the United States and Latin America. We screen them we have them fill out a form. We get their resume, their first year comp requirement, minimum compensation requirements. We get video introduction. We find out if they have any cold calling experience, because that's a big thing we need for that candidate pool, that our clients are a lot of B2B companies. And then our recruiter goes through and obviously does screening and all the things we have to do, or my recruiters do, to evaluate that talent and fit for B2B clients, especially in general. And then, of course, when you're a client, if we're going into that candidate pool, we're trying to source the right talent for your specific position based on experience requirement. Obviously, compensation is really important and all that stuff. Okay. So when we're getting video introduction, our candidate dashboards look like this. Okay. When we are getting assessment, Specifically, candidate dashboard looks like this because we're getting the match percentage on a job, and I'll show you that here in a second. And then this is our Latin American dashboard. This is one where we have to get video introduction from Latin America because we need to gauge English speaking skills. In the United States, we get video introduction a lot because we want them to give us a review or an overview of their background and experience and comp requirements and other stuff. And it helps expedite or accelerate our screening and our recruiting and screening processes. Okay. Now, if we're doing a custom recruiting gig for you, and we are going to get assessment result, we use Aptive Index. If you're not familiar with it, it's awesome. Best assessment product on the market. If you're familiar with these two at the top in particular, this is going to look really familiar. If you haven't taken it, by the way, take it. It's awesome. Right up here, take Aptive Index in the upper corner of our website. Take it. Blow you away. It takes 8 to 10 minutes. Accurate. You'll get a PDF as a result. And when you go over it, it's going to blow your mind just how awesome it is. It really is slick, and it's so accurate, and it tells us a lot. It tells us what kind of job somebody is wired for. And in the case of sales, we have basically 5 core profiles that we build off of, right, for sales, and then we do custom things for clients when we're using assessment as part of the recruiting process where we can customize it and then do a match percentage, right? So we use 5 core profiles when using Aptive Index, farmer sale, hunters, SDR, farmer sale, one call closer, hunter sale, and BDR. For B2B, the main ones are farmer sale, hunter sale, and BDR. And I'm not going to go through them all right now, but just to give you an example, here's a farmer sales rep. This is an account manager, account executive. They're building a book of business. They're managing that book of business, and they're constantly cross-selling, reselling, upselling, filling an inventory. They've got an ongoing sales relationship with the customer base, right? Hunter sales rep, somebody who has no ongoing relationship with their customers from a sales side. They maybe an annual renewal, but that's it, right? They are really built to get paper, get that customer, and then somebody else in the organization is doing the fulfillment and communication with, with customers. They're dealing with the customer or client base. Okay, that's a hunter sales rep. That's what you consider a prototypical salesperson in a way, not managing customers ongoing. Their job is to go out, hunt down, and get that customer. But that is very different than a core BDR because we are finding that hunter sales reps in B2B are really struggling on the business development side. So when we talk about rebuilding our sales team structure, and this is especially true with hunter sales model companies, is I don't want to hire these expensive sales reps to go out and prospect because they don't want to do it, number one. Number two, they're too expensive to do it. You can't get ROI out of them fast enough. So what we want to do is we want to have a hunter sales rep or in a small business, let's say one of the owners, with scheduled appointments that BDRs and cold email are going setting for these salespeople. We want them just selling. We want them dealing with appointments as much as possible. Maybe leads, but we want them selling all the time, right? In the case of BDR, totally different profile. Why? Because we got to do 50 to 150 outreaches a day. We need a machine. We need the Energizer Bunny. That's what this is right here. That's what this is, right? This is influence, sociability, consistency, precision, emotional resonance, and intensity. This is how we identify somebody who's built as a BDR, okay? So when we are getting assessment for you and we're recruiting, this is the kind of thing we're going to review before we get to work, okay? All right, let's take a look at our programs and pricing really quick. So as a recruiting, I'm going to walk through both programs and then we'll get into some other details specific to direct mail, actually. In the case of Blue Chip Recruiting Program, that is our recruiting program for everything. We have 2 different rates. We got our standard rate is $9,500 one-time placement fee, and $4,750 is our half rate, 50% off placement fee, and that is for when we're recruiting from that RTG candidate pool that I alluded to. Okay, so let me go back and say, we don't charge anything up front when we do recruiting for you as a client. You sign a proposal, we get to work sourcing candidates. You don't pay until you hire, okay? You get a dedicated recruiter, online candidate dashboard if you want to look at it. We're getting video introduction or assessment results for our RTG candidate pool. We're always getting video because we need more detail from candidates in the United States on their background and experience and stuff. And then the other thing for Latin America, which is part of the RTG candidate pool, we need to gauge English speaking skills, right? But we can go out and we can get assessment result. So if we're doing a custom recruiting gig, which is where 9,500 comes into play, we're going out and we have to source talent locally for you, right? In your market, for example. They're going to work in-house. We have to go and find an outside sales rep in the Northeast. We have to find very, very specific industry experience. Someone we're almost looking to get someone from a competitor and bring them to you, right? That's all going to be part of our standard rate in the Blue Chip Recruiting Program. You want us to get assessment result rather than video. We're going to do a custom recruiting gig. We're going to build a custom dashboard for candidates, and we're going to go out and we're going to get assessment result. Okay? That is where our standard rate applies. That's $9,500 one-time placement fee. But a lot of the recruiting, and since we're talking about direct mail, a lot of the recruiting we do for direct mail is going to be remote candidates for inside sales and business development. That's a lot of the work we do for our direct mail clients and many other clients that we work with, right? It's more than 50% of our recruiting for sure is RTG candidate pool. So our RTG candidate pool is the candidates that we are recruiting on a daily basis to work remotely from home office. They're not going to travel on a consistent basis. Yeah, they'll travel for a meeting. Let's say a U.S. person will travel for a meeting here and there. But at the end of the day, they want to work from home in their home office and do inside sales or business development, right? They can do customer management. They can do account management, all those things. But that is remote candidates that want to work from home office, okay? We're recruiting the United States all day, every day. And Latin America, 48 countries. We get, again, this, I'll show you Latin America. I can't show you the U.S. dashboard, unfortunately, on this video. This is the candidate dashboard for Latin America. You're looking at base comps typically in the $1,000 to $2,000 range a month. They don't need bonus commission near as heavily by percentage. So you're talking total comp for sales, biz dev, typically between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. That's what you're looking at for a rep who's doing a great job. Okay. We recruit 48 countries. If you are unfamiliar with dealing with people internationally, it is really simple. And we have an entire dedicated document right here. Phone options and paying remote staff located outside the USA. It is so easy. How to pay them. Wise, Remitly, that stuff, super easy to use for phone, voice over IP that'll allow international IP addresses to use a US number. You're looking at Quo and Ring Central are the two ones we recommend to clients. So you already have one of those, you're set up. If you're not, it takes 5 minutes, whatever, 10 minutes. Right, and then paying them internationally as Wise, Remitly are the two big ones we use. There are others out there, but those are the two big ones we recommend to clients. There's RIA, there's Payoneer, stuff like that. All easy to do. If, on a side note, if you don't know what this is, then just ignore this. But if you're familiar with employer of record services and you're a bigger company and you need to legally employ people internationally, you want to use an employer of record service, we recommend Atlas. We've had good experience with them. The rates are pretty reasonable. Most clients don't. Most clients are, dealing with the candidates internationally. They only have a handful and they treat them as independent contractors and they just pay them directly. Okay? All right. Let's get back to what I was talking about. Sorry, video's so long. I'm going to try to cut down the length here a little bit. Try to speed it up. Sorry. Okay. Let's talk about programs and pricing. I had to finish that really quick. So our placement, again, you pay nothing up front. You get a dedicated recruiter. Custom prospect list, direct mail in this case, is a B2B company. For B2B companies, we do custom prospect lists. We do one-on-one training with me. A lot of that training is focused on business development. I'm going to get into the direct mail pitch here in a minute. And we do a 60-day rep replacement guarantee. Okay. If we are recruiting from the RTG candidate pool, that means the candidate pool we have all day, every day coming in. We've screened them. We're doing everything, right? That's $47.50. It's 50% off. It's a no-brainer. Great deal. Okay. Great program. Great deal. Okay. Email marketing setup really quick. If you want to delve into this, I can do it for you. I ran email for clients for 8 years, sent over 100, 105, 110 million emails for clients for lead generation. If you want me, I can't manage clients anymore, but I do have a setup program I can run, so I can set you up, which is the hard part, the infrastructure, and then show you how to manage it on a day-to-day basis, which takes no time. It's literally 15 minutes a week, an hour or two a month. It's easy as cake, easy as pie, and the cost factor to run email is very cheap. You're looking at $2.25 to $5.25 a month to send tens of 125,000 emails a month, 6,000 a day. And you can layer that. You can increase that as much as you want, right? Cost increases, but you can go infinite numbers. At one time for a couple clients, I was running 36,000 emails a day for one client in corporate gift and promotional products. So that's another category we've done a lot of work in over the years. Ad specialty, promotional products, printing in general, video, advertising. We do a lot of work with advertising specifically. Marketing companies, yes, but advertising, which is where direct mail falls into play, right? So anyway, that's that program. If you want to check that out, I don't want to get into too much detail in this video here because it doesn't apply as much to direct mail. It can, but usually we're talking about much more refined target lists and where the pitch comes into play. And we get, and it's really a rep thing more than an email thing. Okay. All right. Building prospect lists. I put all clients or recommend Apollo to clients. I'll give you an example for a client. This is a list, 8,800 owners and advertising revenue growth people at, let's say, lawn care and landscaping companies. This is the way I help build lists, direct mail, very, very easy to do. I'm going to show you a lot of the targets here in a second, but we use keywords primarily and then inclusion and exclusion. So lawn care and landscaping to identify the companies. We get rid of the equipment and manufacturing people in the space, of course. And then obviously we're focused on titles. We can then refine that by size or annual revenue or any kind of number of things. But this is how we build lists for reps to call on for specifically direct mail companies, because the way we do targeting, and this is part of the secret with direct mail, I've run into a lot of print companies over the years that have their reps targeting geographically. And I've always said, and we really have started to do a lot more work with direct mail companies. I've always said, I'm going down to this list. I've always said that doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you target vertically, right? Because the pitch gets so much more specific to them, to the target, and then your rep really becomes adept at dealing with that particular industry. They start to learn the lingo really fast and how those companies work and how they're structured. And all that fun stuff, how they do direct mail, how they're going to utilize direct mail, where, where's the spread geographically, what are the zones for EDDM, all that stuff. And so the reps really begin to understand that within that niche business. So in the case of one franchise in direct mail, for example, we've worked with some of the franchisees. Their reps, they've turned to doing vertical or niche targeting with their reps, okay? And it's so much more effective for the rep to work that way, number one. Again, for the reasons I mentioned. And so rather than targeting a ton of different businesses geographically around our metro area, we start working with clients nationally in a segment or in a vertical. Now, if you only want to target customers in your market, that's fine. And reps can do that. But I still like to see prospect lists built by vertical niche, and they go through a vertical at a time, because it makes the pitch a lot easier. And also when we're baiting with samples, it makes the pitch so much more effective. So here's the secret to, sorry, I'm taking so long here. The secret to direct mail cold outreach. And many of you have, maybe some of you have done this already. If you're watching this video and you say, well, we already do that, or we've done that. Okay, great. I've run into a lot of print companies that do direct mail. If I have, in the case of, let's say this client's list is, and I think the first one for this client was sorry, when I'm recording, this goes really slow, was tree services, right? So it's not a big list, right? It's not a big list. I have it here somewhere. I did have it here somewhere. There we go. All right, so tree services, small list, right? So when I have a trained rep to do outreach to tree services, first and foremost, we got to have a sample for each vertical, a really high-performing sample ad, if we can say that, right? So ideally, this client, in this case, does do some level of measurement with a couple of clients, and they had an ad do really, really well for one of their clients. And the pitch is very simple. We're calling every tree service company nationwide and we say, Johnny, hey, it's Kevin from XYZ Print. We do direct mail specifically for tree service companies. Listen, we did an ad for a client. It's one of the best performing ads. We track some. One of the best performing ads we've ever run in the history of our company, and the best one we've ever had for a tree service company that we tracked. I want to send you over a little bit about our company, our rates, but I want to send you that ad, right? So you could see what I'm talking about and why. Can I send that over to you really quick? And then obviously we're going to dig into gathering intel and what kind of advertising are they doing? Are they doing direct mail currently? Are they doing EDDM currently? What's the area that they target for their business, right? And all that kind of stuff. But targeting by niche and vertical allows you to quote that A, you do direct mail specifically for that industry a lot. And secondly, you've got an ad for their industry that's just awesome. It's doing great. They can't say no to that conversation. They can't say no. They want to talk about it. Oh, send me that ad because they think they can steal it, which maybe they will sometimes, right? But generally they won't. It is dynamite as a lead gen methodology, okay? So when we're building lists, in the case of direct mail, and we're talking mostly B2C businesses, obviously, that you're targeting, and all kinds of categories. We already have this built. This is from way back in Google Ads type experience days. For marketing and advertising professionals, the top keywords in over 75 high-dollar local business categories. So we have our home improvement companies and service contractors. And all of this, you're going to look at this and go, well, that's all our clients. Exactly, right? You can build the list for every single one of these and niche target your reps specifically at these verticals. And when they pitch, again, they're talking that you do direct mail for real estate agents. And I got one of the best real estate ads we've ever run. I want to send it to you. They can't say no to that. Reps got an easy in. It's automatic, right? And then I train them, have a conversation, find out what advertising they're doing. What other marketing are they doing? What's working? What's not working? Gather intel, all that stuff, right? Move the needle. Keep them on the phone. Keep moving the needle. Send them pricing in that sample ad while you have them on the phone. Let's keep talking about it. We want to keep going. That's what I want reps to do, whether business development or sales. If it's business development, they can send them info and then they got to schedule a call for sales. Get them a quote, whatever the case is, right? If it's salespeople, we want to go from intro to sales on that call if at all possible. It's not easy to do. I acknowledge that. But in this space, it's actually not that difficult because they want to see that sample ad so bad. They want to see it so much more than they care about your pricing. Totally. They want to see the ad. They can't wait to see it. Also, we do a lot of this with magazine ads. We also do a lot of this with video. Video companies, especially targeting bigger companies, that works really well with video to go after for video production companies. Okay, healthcare, tons of healthcare. Obviously, there's some that's retail, that's big, that uses direct mail. You obviously have your legal categories that do, and then there's certain retail, and I think somehow I'm missing restaurants in here, and I don't know why. I don't know why I'm missing restaurants, but that would be one too, right? Pizza, restaurants, all that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. So that is the last part. I have spent way too long on you here. I apologize. All right. So let's talk about the last item. So building your business development for your process for your reps, that's easy. I've taken too long already. That's easy to do. Cold outreach, build a list, cold outreach. We put reps, we can put them on Google Sheets for free. We've got a template for that. If you're a fan of and you're willing to invest a little bit, Monday.com, we've got a template that my programming guy can put you on Monday.com with this template. This is a CRM for cold lists specifically for sales and BDRs to use so that they can't email. They can't do automated email. They're not jerking around with that on their CRM. And that's one, I don't want to go down that path right now. I absolutely detest sales reps playing around with automated email on the CRM. They have no business doing it. It's a waste of time. High volume email is how you drive leads. Reps should be calling. Boots on the ground or calling, one of the two. That's what reps need to be doing. Okay. But we've got a dedicated CRM. This is just a sample. This is in-house. I can't show the clients, but in this case, but this is what it looks like in Monday.com. It's awesome because it automatically tabs every time you change the lead status, it automatically throws them in the tab. which is really good for cold outreach because we're going to do a lot of follow-up where we left voicemail, a lot of follow-up where follow-up required with dates, all that stuff. Okay. Keeps rings really organized for cold outreach. Okay. So I covered Monday.com. Cold email, I don't want to dig into that right now. It's going to take too long. I've taken too long in this video. If you are interested in really high volume email to drive inbound leads to accentuate your sales or business development reps, I can put you on a program and build that for you. Two different structures we build. I'll just show it really quick. I'm not going to get into screens right now on this because, again, we're 30 minutes in and you're probably like, oh my gosh, this is too long. Two tech stacks we do. I build Apollo plus email API. You're looking at 2.25 a month, can send 6,000 emails a day. That's what we call a brute force tactic. It works really well. Little harder to hold reputation, of course, and get deliverability in the long run. You're going to get blocked eventually to a degree with that volume of email. Block rates typically around ultimately 10%, but it can be as high as, if your list is entirely on Google Workspace, ultimately you can get 40% block, right? Because Google Workspace is the one that does all the blocking. Well, Microsoft does it, Rackspace, all the custom systems, you can get through all those permanently. Like that's all pretty easy. You know, got to have the right copy strategy and a bunch of other stuff. But as far as getting deliverability in the grand scheme of things, Google's the one that's really, really hard. So if you have targets that are all on Gmail or on Google Workspace, that's where you're going to get blocked. The highest we typically see is about 40%, but usually it's somewhere in the 10 to 15% range that you're going to end up with block rate when you're running this kind of strategy. The other system I will build for clients, and I do it for clients usually after they've done this and they want a more long-term solution for maybe they have a ton of targets that are on Google Workspace and Gmail. Then when you do like a smart lead plus mail reef combination, and we're running very high numbers of email addresses that are all tied together and only sending 25 cold emails a day per email address. And that system is awesome. There's a lot of detail and I get into it in other videos. But if you want to check that out, I can put them in the description, but check out those videos because the one in particular, I go into the detail on the difference between these two structures and when to use them. If you're new to cold email, like outside of your CRM, which is can't send any volume through a CRM, so it's kind of pointless. And you shouldn't be using your main domain anyway to send cold email. But if you want to dig into it, we would look at Apollo plus email API first as a structure because it's easier, it's simpler, it's a little easier to manage, and ultimately it works really, really well and it's less expensive. But some clients, if they have really high Google Workspace targets, Gmail targets, they're going to go Smart Lead, Mailreef, or Email Bison as the CMS and Mailreef, and do this kind of structure. And you're looking at $500 and some to $800 and some a month to send 50,000 cold emails a month, 2,500 a day. So that's what one server can handle. You can add to that as much as you want. Like there's unlimited, there's no limit. But it costs, right? So on that base cost, that's what you can send is $2,500 a day. Anyway, I took way too long. Again, if you're a direct mail house or a printer, do direct mail. I'd love to help you find rep, train them, build a complete business development process for them, for BDR, for sales. We have talent coming in all day, every day that's very experienced. Again, $47.50 if it's our RTG candidate pool, which is, again, our remote candidate pool that we're bringing in every day. If you want to look at candidates, all you have to do is sign proposal with us, and then we'll deliver you candidates. You hire, you pay us. You don't hire, you don't pay us. It's that simple, right? But I can build your whole cold outreach process, your sales system, the machine that you need to sell direct mail day in and day out. And again, it involves building targeted lists, training reps properly, having the right samples to send, and so on and so forth. And whether you want sales to do their own cold outreach, inside sales, let's say, or you want dedicated BDRs to do that cold outreach, either way works, right? We also have candidates across the United States constantly. And then, of course, if you want to go to Latin America, much less expensive, we got great experienced reps from Latin America, phenomenal English speaking skills. We've got all that talent coming in every day. Okay. So hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Website is kevinmdowney.com. Take Aptive Index. You haven't taken it, take it. You'll love it. It's so cool. It's not an IQ test, by the way. Measures motivational drives. If you want to schedule a call, it's in the upper right-hand corner. Okay? Thanks so much for being here today. Sorry it took so long. Best of luck in business in 26. We hope to hear from you, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.